Okay, we are.
Before we get too far into it,
Yeah,
I don't know if it was just me or not, but there was a strip on the right side of the screen that showed about 5 different people that were part of the Zoom meeting, and it completely blocked all of the tools that Gary was picking last week. Did anyone else see that?
let
Yeah, I
me-
did.
All you have to do is go up there and click at the very top of it, there's like a 1 line, 3 lines, and a bunch of lines. Just click the 1 line and that'll,
No, that's actually in the recording. So that was my fault. It's recording my screen. I think is what it's doing. And if I had those people on the side there, it's recording those right in place, so you won't be able to change that.
Yeah, that's too bad. I was thinking of some, because I'm trying to figure out how to get you guys pictures onto another screen. How do I do that?
Well, when I start, let me take the screen, and then when I do, tell me if the. Okay. Now, do
Okay,
you
there
see
you
that?
go. Now I can move your pictures away.
Well, you can't, but I can. Can you move them?
I just moved the pictures on my screen.
why is there
away.
a Zoom screen on there?
That's.
I think that means he's sharing through the internet version.
Yeah, I've got my my browser up. So you should be seeing my browser. And do you see the 5 or 6 people on the right-hand side?
Yeah,
No.
You don't?
I do, yeah.
You do.
I
I
don't.
do.
I don't.
So you just hit the minimize the button there.
I did. Okay. So I got it up there, but that's interesting. Some people see it and some don't.
I've got dual monitors, so I see your screen on my right monitor, but I see everybody else on the left.
That's the way
Okay.
mine is.
All right. So hopefully we won't have that problem again. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. That's a good point. So we talked about Thomas Van Oost last time, was 2 weeks ago, and some of the stuff that he's doing, and just very impressive things. I made a list of all the techniques and styles and things like that he was using, and I suggested you look at those and kind of be aware of those kind of issues. Not long after that, I found another photographer, and let's see if I can.
That was what, a whole 2 days or something later.
Carmine Chiriaco. His name's here. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing. I'll call him Carmen. He has a similar style, but it seems like it's much more aggressive. And I mean, the images are really intense, but it's along the same lines, using a lot of the same techniques in Photoshop. And so I compared the two, and I found a number of differences between his style and Van Oost's style. And again, like I mentioned last time, I'm not trying to copy their style. I'm trying to learn something. I really liked this image.
Flatiron Building.
Yeah, New York. I mean, just the technique. And what he's doing is, instead, Van Oost takes a copy and kind of reduces it and moves it around. It looks like he's doing just the opposite. He's taking a copy, expanding it and moving it around, and getting that jittery effect. But what he did differently than Van Oost, and Doug and I talked about this, is that every picture, it seems like he's analyzing the picture and then creating a style to go with the picture. It's not like he's got a cookie cutter approach.
He's focusing his things.
Yeah, I mean, every one is unique. And so it was a real challenge to look at what he was doing and try to analyze on how to get from A to B, which really woke me up and reminded me that we're not after at least I'm not after just a push the button, get a result. The action that I sent out is a good starting point to get you started without having to do a lot of brain damage trying to figure out how to set up layers and so on. But once you get into the techniques, it can be a real challenge to figure out where these things are all going. And I think Tom probably went through the same journey in analyzing these things, you find out things that you weren't looking for all of a sudden pop up when you start trying to do these things with your pictures. And it takes you on a whole different journey than you were expecting. So,
Gary, go back to that last picture as an example of Carmine's. He doesn't have any of the jittery stuff. This is a straight up shot, but he's done a lot of really unique color treatments.
Mhm.
and again, I think it's based on his approach that each picture's individual, and he is going to look at the style that fits that image. And I admire that. I think that's, I mean, look at this. I mean, this is,
That's
Yeah,
my
that's
favorite.
great.
Favorite.
Mm-hmm.
The guy also travels a lot.
yeah. This is the one that really set me on a different path.
Yeah, I like that.
And when I saw this, I thought, now what is he doing? And I thought of about half a dozen things that I saw in this picture that I wanted to try. And this was like a turning point for me. It really set me off on a different direction. And I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you the whole journey I kind of made in the last couple of weeks. So it should be fun.
Gary,
One
was
thing
he
I
able to do
noticed-
that? Was he able to do the, you know, where it looks like it's spread or the lines of those buildings in Photoshop? Or do you think he had to take a photograph and move the camera?
This stuff,
Yeah,
So
and all
aha,
that red and the.
All
and
Photoshop.
everything.
you
All
like that?
Photoshop.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it.
I hope you like it because I fell in love with it.
Oh, I love it. I love this.
the other thing, Gary, that I noticed here is he's got a cubist treatment to it.
Yeah, he took some, and you can see they're slightly lighter than others. And this is intentional. This is not a mistake. I thought that was interesting. I don't think I tried that, but what I did pick up on is this this background, you know, exploding. And
Yeah, I love
I
that.
thought I want to pursue that. And he's doing the cubist thing here
Mhm.
again. Here's a flip, you know, doing the you know, taking half the picture, flipping it. This is kind of unique. You know, there's a horizontal flip here, but I'm not sure how he got to all these other things. And just looking at these things make you really think about your approach. I mean, his is just so unique in that
Very artistic, you know.
each one of the pictures is just a whole different study that he goes into.
It's a piece of art, everyone.
Now look at this. I mean, this is just amazing. You know, that blending and
Mhm.
that motion blur and the patterns in the background. I wonder how many nights he's up doing this stuff. I can only
You know,
imagine after I went through.
I noticed on that one too, he's done something with the water, like a reflection flip. And then on the closer end, he's left the water ripply.
Yep. So each one's a little bit different. So if you want to look them up, it's Carmine Chiriaco. Carmine, Chiriaco. Very, very talented. So I'll collapse him. This is
And Oost.
Van Oost. I'm going to collapse that. I'm going to get rid of me for a minute, and we're going to go down here. So the assignment was to try two things. One is a double exposure, which you can do in a number of different ways. Some cameras let you do that in camera, and we tried that. Doug and I were out there a couple of weeks ago at Greenfield Village trying to do some of this stuff, and had mixed results. Some cameras allow you to take the first picture, it keeps that picture on the screen, and then as you look at a second image, you can line those images up and then take the second shot, and it blends it together and gives you a double exposure. But then you're pretty much done, because that is it in terms of how you can manipulate each picture individually. You can change exposure and things like that. But in camera, after thinking about it for a couple of weeks, I don't think it's the way to go. You can do it for some simple things, but if you really want to get creative like these guys are doing, you need to take the individual shot and take it into Photoshop and do the manipulations there. As far as the multiple process, trying to do more than 2, it really becomes chaotic. If you get even 3 or 4 and you start to lose everything, if you're trying to do it in camera, and there's some cameras that allow you to do that. And if you tried the action where you have the option to have like 7 different layers, you probably found out, like I did and everyone else, is that that can get very complicated. So you really have to be careful about how you're going to use that. So we'll go more into that, but let's take a look at what Bob Hagopian, he sent these in, he couldn't come today. So we took these 2
Oh,
and then blended it into this.
That's kind
Pretty good job.
nice.
And he did that with Photoshop or in camera?
I don't know.
Okay.
It looks like Photoshop.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably is, because you would see some more blending of these
Mhm.
here, but yeah, so I mean, it's good. The whole idea was not to create masterpieces, but just to learn some of these techniques and get familiar with it. Oh, here's another shot. Okay, what did he do here? Okay, it looks like he used that that action that I sent out and then did multiple copies and moved them around, and that's good. I think
That's pretty
you know,
nice.
yeah, it's interesting, and you learn, you know, how many of these multiples do you want to do? Do you want to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Do you want them all to be the same size, or do you want to move them around on the screen? So those are good exercises. Okay, Bob, you can show off now.
What? This is my first attempt
Wow.
copying what Gary was doing, which is sort of similar to Sirocco. Gary's theme was mostly trying to turn a daytime shot to night. This one was maybe cheating because it was a nighttime shot to start with. That was shot from the rooftop of the Opera House. And anyway, basically I fumbled around until I got it right. Gary told me the secret was 2 or 3 layers, and on the background layer you motion blur the hell out of it 2, 3, 4 times, and then blend these in. And that's really what's happened. Is it's a pretty much a normal image in front, maybe with some of the colors and things goosed, and then in the background is just the base layer that's been motion blurred.
So when you say background layer, that's the one that's, I'm thinking on Photoshop, that's the one at the bottom. So the top layer is your blur?
Yes.
Okay.
So the bottom layer, well, all 3 images were the same,
Mm-hmm.
3 layers, but on the one on the bottom, I turned off the other 2, so the whole thing was a bunch of streaks.
Okay.
And
So the
then-
whole bottom layer was all streaks.
Right, and then
Okay, and then when you put the others on top, that's
when
how
the-
you got the other buildings
when I
back.
took the next layer up, I selected the sky and took it out,
Okay.
and or put a mask on, and that's what it let the bottom layer show through. And then I started playing around with the colors and saturations and some of that stuff.
And you might look at this
Very
and you might look at this and say, this is nice, but I'm not going to be able to get out at night, and so on and so on and so on. Let me just stop for this 1 second. I want to take you up here and show you this picture.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
This is the original.
Oh, wow. So when you did it in black and white, it changed it to look like dark, like night.
Well, that's part of it.
Part of it?
There's a process that you have to go through.
Okay.
You know, but it kind of like dawned on me how to do this, and I rushed to the computer, and I was going to pick just any picture I could find and try it. And I went through, and this was taken downtown Detroit, and it was sitting there. I never even played with it because I just thought it was just an awful picture, and I would never use it. Fortunately, I kept it, and I had no intention of doing anything with this other than to try the technique. And so I tried the technique, and about an hour and a half later, this is what it looked like.
It's great.
And I was just blown away. It was like a light came on, and all of a sudden, I discovered something.
And then you
And,
stayed up all night doing two more.
I mean, you can see the reflections on the pavement here, like it's all wet and you know, watery. You can see the guy with the umbrella, you know, the lights coming off the buildings, the illumination. I was just so excited when I finished this picture that you know, this was like I was getting close to the end of the journey, that I actually had found something that I liked. And so this,
What did you do to get the wet look? Is that a reflection?
you know, that you know, I'm going to make a statement, and I'm not sure because I don't have a lot of night shots that I can work with, but I think it might be easier to create a night shot from a day shot than it is from a night shot. Doesn't make much sense, but I think, you know, if you look at this carefully, if you did this with a night shot, I'm not sure that the technique would allow this to happen the way it did here.
It depends on how much light you've got. On
Yeah.
mine, I was lucky to have a lot of light on the subject.
But to look at this and say, this is this, it's almost hard to believe.
So what do you have to do to get the reflection? Look, the look of a
The
reflection.
reflection actually came, you know, the motion blur that you create on that top layer, you can see the effects of that all the way through the picture. You get those strong vertical lines all the way through the picture. And then when you pick the blending mode, that's where the magic happens. There's certain blending modes will react with certain pictures certain different ways. And I think I used difference as the blending mode on this. And when I first blended it together, I looked at it, it was very dark. The entire picture was really, really dark. And so I had to take the two top layers, the motion blur and the one picture below it, merge them together, then take it into Photoshop and then turn the exposure way up so that I could start to see this picture again. And then once I started manipulating the tones, this thing just started coming out. I didn't like the colors necessarily. The combination can really mess with the colors, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I decided to turn it black and white, and I'm glad I did, because this really works well in black and white.
And don't be scared about having to know the blending modes. You just try them all. See which one looks best.
As you slide your cursor down the list of the blending modes, the picture actually changes as you're doing that. And you have to think in combination of the opacity differences that you can do with it, as well as the, you know, lightening and darkening the picture after you finish it. So it's the experience of doing it that gets you to the final end product. So you have to do it a lot before you get comfortable with it and start to realize what's going to happen if you start doing things and you do things later to it to make these things happen. So, you know, creating this was kind of a stumbling mistake that I stumbled upon, and I got it done. But once I did it, I thought I can replicate this. And then I went and I did others. And, you know, that's kind of a very enjoyable moment when you hit something like that and you find out, wow, you know, this is going to work for a lot of things. And this is the direction. Now, this has probably very little to do with Van Oos style or Carmine style, but I wouldn't have gotten here if I hadn't done all the studying of their styles and their techniques and the tricks that they were using, because it forced me to try things. And as I tried more things, every once in a while you get lucky and you stumble on something, and all of a sudden things happen. And you know, this is the result. So, you know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Well, it's your own style too, you know.
Yes, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, and you know, I like the artography kind of a style. I like the urban landscape style, and this for me kind of fits where I was going. So when I hit this, I felt pretty good. So let's go back to Bridge. And
I got a call coming. Hang on. I think it's Kevin. Hello? You can't. Today is, I think it's the 13th.
12th. The 12th.
It's on right now. Okay, I'll try and send it to you. That was Kevin trying to get in.
He's trying to get in the club one.
Yeah, well, he got them mixed up, the 8th and the 13th. So let me see if I can forward a link to him.
It should be the 12th, not the 13th.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Yeah, you sent 3 emails at the same time, so
Yes.
you had to read them carefully.
So this one should be the one for tonight. Forward, Kevin.
So this picture on the screen is really nice.
Oh, thanks.
It's multiple exposure, right? They're just put together in Photoshop after, yeah.
Yeah, I added the upper right corner.
Huh?
That's a separate image, the upper right corner.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's done beautifully.
And I selected this background brown that was in that image and erased it and then overlaid it onto here so it would see through. I had to come up with something.
I think when you're doing double exposures, you're going to find that if you have areas in one of the pictures where there's a lighter open space, it's going to help you with the double exposure if you start putting things in those areas.
Yeah, at first I was lazy and tried to put a brown image up there, a brown background up there, and it looked horrible. Oh, this is the one you guys probably saw a week or so ago, and it's the Van Oost style. That's Florence Duomo. I went back and just changed the center with the pink and green people to make those a little more vibrant and a little clearer. Actually, I'm not very happy with this picture, but
You know what bothers me on this, Bob? Is the big bright white spot right in the center.
yeah, and I probably
Like
should.
that there, yeah.
Yeah,
Your eye goes right to it.
Yeah, even though they did light it that way, but yeah, you're right.
You could darken
Just
that
darken
down.
it, yeah,
right?
just darken it down a little. Yeah.
Yeah,
You might want to lighten this area down here instead, because, the focus.
Yeah, that would work too. Just it's just that white spot. Your eye just goes
Yeah,
right.
the guy goes right to that spot, rather than the people.
this was my first attempt, but anyway, so like I said, it's not that marvelous.
Well, it's what you've learned from it is important. So
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is the one we just saw. Actually, the most interesting part of this is if you go back to the color version, I really like this building on the left with the scaffolding or the fire escapes and the yellow windows.
Yeah.
See, I like your
That's-
treatment there,
Yeah,
where you just pointed out, and then the cars on the road next to it down there.
I like
Oh,
those,
okay.
that blue light on the little lights on the building too.
Yeah, that whole corner of the picture I think is really, really nice
Yeah.
process.
course,
And then the rest of it gets jumbled over on the other side. See,
You know, what was crazy about this was I wasn't supposed to be photographing. I was supposed to help shoot a wedding. And I took a couple minutes and walked around the roof of the Opera House with the big Fuji. And I was just hand holding these shots, taking snaps. And they turned out fairly good. I think this is like a 5,000 ISO.
and what you'll find out on the color shots is that when you start using the blending modes, the difference, it's called difference, is that the colors really change into some weird combinations, and they're very intense. And it's not like they're oversaturated, it's just they're very intense. And I think there is a difference between the two.
I think if I was doing this over again, I probably would have taken that background layer and picked a different color than magenta for it.
For the streaking here?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you could just go and change the hue of it and you can get a whole variations
Right.
of that. But this is a great shot. I like this.
Thanks.
Black and white works well too.
Yeah, because sometimes the color's a distraction. This kind of, one thing the streaking does is it gives you a depth of field because it ends up being lighter in the background. And that's part of the trick of artists use to get your depth of field.
Well, the motion blur really creates a smooth tonality that really pops out in these black and white pictures.
Nice. Like the perspective on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one I tried this morning. I wanted to try something that was atypical, and I didn't know if it was going to work at all because there's not a whole lot in the foreground of interest. But I was on the People Mover one day, and I got at the end of the car, and I rode the whole circuit and just put my lens right up against the glass window on the door. And
I like it.
I just tried, thanks. I just tried different approaches to it.
It's a great shot.
And you see Caesars at the end in the center
Mm-hmm.
across the river.
Really nice, Bob.
Yeah, I like the black and white versions on these a lot. I mean, they're just a beautiful tonality.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, the velodrome. I think that's it.
I included one double exposure here that I did at Greenfield Village just to demonstrate that. This is a boxcar in the background with the ladder and the trucks here, but the boxcar itself was just a flat monotone, so it was a good background to use with the train in the foreground. So mounting the train picture on top of the boxcar really worked well together. And it can be really messy when you get two pictures that are really complicated, and you even try to put those two together, it becomes a mess. So
So did you blur out most of the boxcar? Or
no, these are just two straight pictures, just whoop, sorry. One on top of the other, there's no blur. It's just, I think it's just an overlay blending mode. So, but if you can find something like that boxcar with, like I said, with that solid background that's not going to fight with the train or whatever else you put in the foreground, it's like your picture of the bike race. You know, putting the bikers up there on the top where you've got that white ceiling makes them pop out a little bit more. You don't lose the detail. So
This
I only
is
threw,
really, really stellar.
yeah, I only threw that in there for that.
Oh, these are cool.
Oh, that's my first attempt.
I like it. This is
Yeah.
pretty good.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Oh, I see. You got really creative and changed between
Yeah.
color and black and white.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you're grasping some of the
Nice
fundamentals
job.
there on that.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, the day before I did this, I was ready to throw the computer out of my family room. And my husband found, because I tried the Adobe Photoshop video and I could not follow it. So he found me one, and I forget the name of the guy now. I gave it to Linda too. I forget the name. But if it wasn't for his video, there's no way I could have gotten through this.
Well, there's a ton of different people who have all kinds of them. You just root around, you find the ones you need.
Yeah, his name was Dean Cooper.
I don't know. him.
And it was his on layering and masking. And I've saved it so that I can go back when I try this again to reinforce it in my mind, because I think I'm still not good on the masking.
I tell you what, I have problems.
What was
with
his
that
name
today.
again?
It was Dean Cooper.
Dean Cooper.
And it looks like he has several good videos for people like me who didn't know the first thing about Photoshop.
Did you use the, is this one picture? No, it's got to be more than one. It's got you.
Yeah, I pulled in a picture of one of the New York bridges.
Okay.
Wow.
So I brought that in, and then,
Did you use the action to do this?
what do you mean action? I
I
just,
sent out, Bob and I sent out an action that you can use that sets this all up to do the multiple
No.
exposures.
no, I
Okay.
just did that with the layers and then moved each layer.
Okay. Well, you're moving along pretty good then. If you're,
And then
You're
I-
doing damn good.
Oh, thanks. And then I cut out one of the statues. So that's not a full with the base. It's just the one on the far right is just the statue. And then went in and did some colorization and some black and white. And so the problem that I'm having, and maybe you can shed some light on it, is when I try to capture certain objects, it doesn't want to capture just the object I want. So I don't want to use the loop because that's really hard sometimes, the lasso. So I've tried the two tools, the one that says capture object, and then the one was quick capture.
Mhm.
And both of them on certain things were almost impossible to capture just the object I wanted. It would
Did you
capture
try the
all picture.
select tool?
Yeah. Well, it's called, isn't it select tool and it has 3 options?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first 2 options is the ones I tried, which is a capture object, I think, and quick capture. And I was trying to take my husband and I's picture of our faces and put it in a moon. And it would kept capturing above our heads. I could not get it just to capture our 2 faces. I mean,
Yeah,
our
A lot
heads.
of times you have to go in and edit where it grabs the edges.
Yeah.
And if you use too big of a circle as your capture circle,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that will jump around too much and you have to make it a little smaller.
Ah.
But I know a technique that Gary's told me several times is if you're having trouble making the selection, uh, change the contrast to something dramatic
Ah,
so that it's got a better thing to grab hold of.
Yeah, if you blend into the background too much, it's gonna grab.
okay.
Yeah, because it's
Okay.
looking for edges.
That's a good idea. And then the other thing was, I sent 2 of these. One is cropped and one's uncropped. And this is the cropped one because the uncropped one, you can see the edges of the layers on the right-hand side. And I didn't know what tool to use to blend the edges of the layers. So you couldn't see that edge.
You got a couple of options there. One is you can put a mask on that layer and paint it with either white or black to
Okay.
either reveal it or hide it along those
Okay.
edges. And you can use a soft brush at a lower opacity so you kind of sneak up on it. So that's
Okay.
one way to do it. The other way is you could use the erase tool, but the problem with using the erase tool around the edges is that you can't go backwards real easy.
Okay,
Once you use a mask, you can undo by just changing from black to white.
right. Okay, I'll try that next time. Thank you.
I have a question on this as well. I did something similar, except when I tried to do some of my layers in color and some in black and white, I couldn't separate my layers. It seemed like it kept applying the technique to the entire image.
You have to watch which layer you have selected when you apply something.
So
You
think
you can
highlight
clip
one layer and you go to your adjustment tool and make it and change the hue on that one layer. It should only affect that layer. So then
Correct.
turn your eyeballs on for the whole image. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to turn off the other layers to make an adjustment on one particular layer. I've noticed that. And for some reason, it's with some tools, it works and sometimes it doesn't. But you might try that just if you want to focus on just one layer to change it, turn everything else off, make the change on that, then turn everything back on and see if that fixes it.
Yeah, I
You can
did
flip-
try
you
that.
can
It
flip
didn't
the
seem to
top
work.
layer. It's real easy. You just take and you hit option and on your upper layer, and as you cross the boundary layer, a little arrow will pop up, and that locks the top layer into the bottom layer, and it doesn't affect anything else. It's really quick. I think it's a clip. You're clipping the top one to the bottom. It's really easy, and that'll only affect that layer below it.
That's another option.
Yeah.
Probably the
Okay.
easiest way is just take the eyeballs and turn them on and off.
I did
Yeah, that's
try
what I
that.
Yeah,
but-
but you're still gonna get, some adjustment layers will go to all the layers below it. You want it to, if you just want it to the one below, you have to clip it to that one below.
Well, another thing you can try, Linda, since you're familiar with Lightroom, is that you can select Adobe Camera Raw instead of the adjustment tools if you're unsure how they'll react.
Adobe Camera Raw.
In other words, when you're in Photoshop, you can select a layer,
Uh-huh.
and then you can go up and say, filter, and then select Camera Raw, and it'll give you all the Camera Raw tools that are similar to Lightroom, and they'll apply them to whatever's on that layer. Or if you only have a selection made to that layer, it'll apply the changes just to the selection.
Okay. All right, so there's still some playing to do.
You'll have more playing to do in a few years. You won't ever catch up. Nobody will,
No.
except Tom.
Excellent job on a first try. This is
Do
good.
that,
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
So is this. I like this one a lot.
Marvelous.
Thank you. That I did after the first one that you saw. I thought I have to try one more time to make sure I have some still in my memory of how to do it.
Damn, you did that good.
Oh, thank you.
Things you want to try is changing the opacity on 6 sets of layers so that, you know, the third layer might be at 40%, the second layer at 20%, and so on. Just try changing those and see if, I can see you're doing that on some of these.
Yeah, and on the right where there's the darker building, that one where I was playing with that was, I just took out part of the building, and that's just a layer all by itself.
Okay.
And then I made it, the opacity a little bit darker on that one.
And sometimes trying a different blending mode on just one of the layers really creates some interesting effects too. You might be using lighten on 4 of the layers, and then try multiply or something, or darken on another, and try those together. So you know, there's all kinds of different things. It's amazing the combinations that you can try with this. But I like this one a lot. This is fun. I like I like the red in the buses here.
What I wanted to add to this, but I couldn't find it in any of my old pictures, was I wanted a person walking across the street on the left, kind of closer to the foreground.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't find a person. And I didn't want a silhouette or anything. I wanted a person. And I just couldn't find one. But I thought that would just add a little more interest to it if I had that in the foreground.
Just get one of Gary's
Could've used
umbrella
the,
Yeah.
looks like he could have used the motorcycle guy.
Yeah, you know, that's one of them that I tried to pick out separate, and I got him. But when I blew him up to be closer, he lost a lot of clarity. It didn't look good. So I tried him, and I didn't like it.
But if you put him there, try 2 or 3 copies of him, and you know, multiply him about 2 or 3 times, and it won't matter anymore. You know, you won't miss the clarity.
Okay, I did that with the car in the front.
Yeah,
And,
that works.
yeah, because I took just the car and made that car in the very front a little bit more prominently or clearer than the others. So I was trying to play around with all those different techniques that guys talked about.
The more you
Got a
screw-
long way to learn, but
more you screw around with layers and the different blending modes, you start to learn a whole bunch. Like Gary said, on the multiply, if you see something you want to make more dramatic, make 2 or 3 layers of the same thing, and then apply like a multiply blend mode to each of them, and it'll darken it up. But try some of the other
Okay.
blend modes.
The thing you're doing well is thinking like that you need something up there, like a person walking across the street, where
Yeah,
thanks.
people wouldn't even think of that. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah, you're off to a great start.
Thank you.
Very, very good.
It was fun after I got to watch the guy. He taught me from his video.
All right, Keith, you got some good stuff here.
Oh man. Interesting.
That's the original, and this is my treatment here.
Like a painting treatment. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I threw a couple, well, I did the action, and then I threw a couple textures on top of it.
I like it where you picked up on just keeping the guy.
Yeah,
visible.
then I mask out, the
Yeah.
textures over the guy there, so keep him clear.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Made shine.
Oh,
That's
that's cool.
interesting.
So I ran the action, and then I mirrored the image, and then I used a flood filter to
I like it.
create the bottom.
Yeah, that's cool.
looks like you got a guy sitting on a throne right in the middle, like, this is
The big bear.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, a big bear.
This here, yeah, there's a big bear, but then there's a guy sitting down below or something.
Yeah.
It's like his big throne.
Yeah, these are very creative. I like these.
Yeah.
Nice.
The original. No.
Hmm.
again, the action and then texture. Or maybe even 2 textures, I think.
Not bad. That's great. I like that.
Your
Again,
original
the
shot.
action and texture.
He's getting his own style already.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
impressionistic, you know, that's what
Yeah.
you did.
Mhm.
Really, I like those lights on the water there.
Yeah.
Was that pointillism?
A little bit like a Turner
Yeah,
with the lights on the water. Nice. Yeah.
Again, I used the flood filter then after putting but I think I used the flood filter before I put the texture, or after I put the texture on, so it doesn't reflect as much of the texture in the reflection. But
so what I'm saying, Keith, is you're really analyzing, like Carmine did, you're analyzing each picture and going to a style that really works
Yeah.
for that picture. I like that. That's thinking it through, and you know, this looks good.
That's nice.
yeah, it
What's
was
a
kind of
flood
fun to
filter?
do. Yeah.
What's a flood filter? I like the effect.
It's,
Um,
go ahead.
You can get it from flamingpear.com. You can try it out for 30 days for free. It's completely functional, but it's incredible what you can do with the filter. It's
You basically can set a horizon line. You can angle it. You can determine how wavy it is, how reflective it is, how high the waves are. You can go anywhere from clear smooth to really wavy, and it'll pick up the reflections off the buildings.
Wow. Okay,
And
thanks.
it's only like 20 or 30 bucks.
the first one. This was with a fisheye lens on standing underneath the beam. You can, in fact, you can see me at the top of the,
Yeah, self-portrait.
Yeah, that's cool.
and then I just ran the action on there and moved them around a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy just to stand under there. You get a little dizzy.
Oh, I
but
know, it's
then
this
you-
is kind of unusual. This was early in the morning and there was hardly anyone there, which doesn't happen too often.
Nice. Good stuff. Those are all good. Ken,
I know those wings. That's interesting. That's good thinking.
is Ken with us tonight?
No,
No.
he's another one that had something else going on.
Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, I saw this one on for tomorrow night, and this is nice. Like this.
That's where I saw those.
Yeah,
ones
it was
loaded.
one of the club entries.
So they're not twins. Good stuff. Mike,
Yeah, it was my first shot, and I've been working way too much. I've been working like 70 hours a week.
Oh,
And so I had a hard time understanding how to select a layer, and just like Linda said, is that I was having a problem where it was wanting to adjust all the layers at one time. So I did what I could. I used the eraser tool. I set the blending. I got rid of the edge of the layered pictures I put on there. I listened to what Gary said. I flipped it upside down and made the reflection. So it was.
That's good.
Nice.
You did a nice job.
Thank
With the
you.
reflection.
Thank you. The other one, please don't even show the other one. It's bad. It's bad.
What software are you using?
This was Photoshop.
All
Okay.
right.
So I finally had to break down and do Photoshop.
for the problem he's having, could you give a quick demo on how to do that?
But instead of using the eraser, you want to use a layer and then erase it with the layer.
Yeah.
No,
What are you selecting?
Did a nice job on this.
yeah, I thought you did fine here.
Yeah, we'll do a little workshop on some of the issues that you're coming up with, but the whole exercise wasn't intended to create some great pictures, but I'm shocked actually because we're getting some really nice stuff. So not only are you learning the techniques, you're also getting some pretty good stuff to begin with. And if you're getting, let me tell you, if you're getting this far in the first 2 weeks, you're going to learn a whole lot more in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're going to be shocked at what you're going to end up with. Let me see if I can get back to, I want to show some. Tom, do you mind if we look at some of your stuff?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm getting tired of looking at it.
You had some real nice ones, Tom.
He always
Thank you.
does.
Where do you want to start here? Going
Just
back.
start in the upper left-hand corner. Yeah, you anywhere you feel like it.
Well, some of these we saw last time, so let's start
yeah,
here.
yeah, go on up. Keep going.
I don't know if we saw him in this group or if it was a
We
Saturday
saw
morning
these.
group.
Saturday.
Yeah.
You've seen those. You've seen
I'm
those.
getting confused on the groups.
Yeah, the Saturday group saw these, but I don't think the Wednesday group saw
Okay.
these.
Yeah, let's go through them. They're nice.
These are
What's
nice.
the Saturday group?
That's the old coffee group for downtown Rochester.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to meet at Barnes and Noble and have coffee on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. So we bring our own coffees and we have like a little conversation on Saturday mornings. Everyone's welcome to join that one as well. So, but these, really can see the influence from Van Oost. And I told Tom already, I think he's already caught up to Van Oost.
Oh, I think he's exceeded.
Yeah, I think we need to buy something, have him sign it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it worth the
well, I've
money?
already, I'm asking for prints of his stuff already.
This one I thought
Beautiful.
was
It's
terrific.
all.
Wow.
Tom, you're famous.
What?
You're famous now.
Well, yeah, you're in about a 10-mile radius here.
You're really
This one I
good.
thought was
To make
great.
it official though, you do got to sign a print. Then you're official.
And then you have to die.
This
No,
one
not
I
till
really
we get about 10 of your prints.
Yeah, that's right. Then that'll be worth
Yeah.
something.
Hey,
like. You got a nice finesse on this one. It's-
yeah, just
Wow.
Dude, I've been trying different things, although here's something different, but it doesn't
That's
seem like it works well with like down the street or
Wow. This
like
one's
that
really
kind
nice.
of.
But Tom's good at getting out and getting these kind of gritty street pictures. He's always, been out there,
Yeah.
getting in there with people and getting close. So he has a whole warehouse full of great pictures like this that he can draw from.
so I did get into that blurring bit here.
And this one here.
No, you have to get just go way to the left. Well, I took that one a long time. Got it the other way. Go to the beginning of my. Yeah, that's an oldie.
Oops.
Just go to the beginning of my. Photo stream up in there. Let's see. Right.
All of these
yeah.
are the last week or two.
I just did this one this morning. I took the shot, last year, Christmas Day. Huh. And so,
Like the color choice.
yeah,
So that's a combination of a blur and the original, right?
yeah, a little bit of the original, yeah. And
And you stuck with two colors. That's good.
I know Doug's had a picture of birch trees. I thought that might work good.
I think they will. Yeah, I've got some other ones that with some poplars and birches and things.
Oh, very nice, Tom.
Yeah,
To do
yeah, that's-
that.
What are you using for the swirls? That looks like hair. or something.
That's my secret. I tell all you people, and then you beat me at my own game.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I found out how to
That is
how to
cool.
play around with that blur stuff. That one's gonna get thrown in the delete pile.
No, 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 no.
I'm just, that was just, these are like etudes, you know, just studies sometimes.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
and I gotta just working out techniques and things. So that's kind of what that is. I liked it a little bit. It's sort of the same type of deal.
That's interesting. The way that water's going downhill.
That's actually it's a sandbar or a gravel bar in Stony Creek Lake.
Looks like a sinkhole there on the right-hand side.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I thought it was at your place up north on Lake Superior.
No, no.
I
Yeah,
like that one.
that
Yeah,
was-
I do too, Lynn.
That's very cool.
Looks
that
like you
was
have
a-
a little high contrast on that one with the, along
Oh,
with the blur.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, this
Oh,
is
this is
cool.
cool.
I grabbed that that tree and with the moon behind it. I grabbed that off of place on online. I came up with the outside, just couldn't figure out what to put in the middle, so I just searched around. I
You did a
thought that
pretty
might
good
be good.
job.
I like it.
So, and,
Well, you sure picked up on the intensity from Carmine stuff with this one.
Yeah.
Thought that was great.
And you got the vertical blurring.
and then that's more like Van Oost
Yeah.
type stuff. That's just
Are these autochrome colors?
no. That, you know, I just improvise. Maybe I should take notes or something like that, but well, I'd be hard pressed to duplicate these things, you know.
It's
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Because I've thought the same thing. I better take notes on this stuff or I'll never remember.
this is
Well,
really
I think if I keep doing it, you know, it'll get kind of reflexive. You know, I'll just know what to do at a certain time. But gosh, there's just so many options now. Boy, almost got to have a list of these options, and then I run down through there. You know, well, what do I do here? You know, which blend mode, and you know, how light do I want to make? Actually, I think these type of pictures really take some forethought, a lot of planning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's his name, Chiraco and Van Oost. I'm sure they're planning these things out.
So you did a 90-degree rotate on the windows.
Yeah, that was in
Top to bottom.
the old people mover there.
Well, that's why it's so important that you get experience in doing these, and the more experience you get with all these tools, you can start thinking of creative ideas, and you know exactly which tool you're going to need to do that. So, I mean, Tom is so good at this. I mean, he looks at something and probably can figure out in 10 seconds exactly, you know, what he's going to need to get this done and go from point A to point B.
Well, even if you don't like this style of processing, you need to know those tools for your regular processing.
Right.
That's the only reason I really got into this was it's just great to learn about layers and masks and blending modes. And, you know, I wanted to maybe show you a little Photoshop thing. It'll only take
Let me finish this and I'll turn it over to you, and then you can.
yeah, okay. It's just a little thing that I picked up on here.
I'm going to start.
Oh, you know, that stuff of yours, Gary, those colors, boy, they just knocked me out. That
Oh,
stuff
man,
you
they're
posted
great.
today.
This was probably a week and a half ago where I was with still on the Van Oost train and doing stuff like this. And I kind of like this, but I could see that, you know, was trying to force his style onto my pictures.
Yeah.
So I kept on going, and they were interesting, but I just kept on working.
Yeah.
Another one And this one kind of changed things. This is very similar to what Van Oost is doing, but then I started playing around with some different ideas. And this is one of the turning points when I got to this point. This is down at the Ross School of Business at U of M. I was down there, I think last summer, and took some interior shots. And it was starting to change at that point. And then this is downtown Rochester, down one of the alleys.
I really like
And
that.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
things started to change, and I started to focus on what I was trying to do. And this was downtown Detroit, again at Van Oost, and I'll probably erase this because it's interesting and I learned something from it, but it's not where I wanted to go. This is downtown Chicago. And this was probably Carmine's influence, with taking things and exploding them into the sky. And again, it was interesting, but it wasn't where I wanted to go. This is some composites junk I was doing. But then I took some Chicago pictures, and I started experimenting with the vertical motion blurs and then combining them together. And this is probably the shot or the image that changed everything for me. When I saw this, I thought, this is where I want to go. And to see it in black and white and see the tonalities of this, how beautiful the tonal range is. Oops. I just thought, I got excited when I hit this one because I thought now I'm on track to where I want to go. And I started focusing more in one particular direction. Another shot, Chicago.
Nice.
So how many times are you repeating the same picture?
Not really repeating it. I'm using the blending modes with the motion blur. And,
Okay.
and it looks like there's multiple, but they're not. I think there might be just one small blur I put in there and just moved it like a couple of pixels just to give it that kind of a feel. But the blurring, the motion blur really does a lot. And I can show you how this works because I put in 3 pictures here to show the progression. This is
Love that.
that's a difficult one. I tried it. I'm not too excited about it, but it sort of works.
Oh,
Love
that's
that.
nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, really like that.
It's down on Woodward.
This again is the blurs and then masking out details to come out of the blurs. I was going in that direction for a while. And this is one of the buildings that was under construction, taking blurring the picture and then taking certain sections of it and bringing back the details, so again, I'm on this journey to find this stuff.
Mhm.
I started playing around with bleach bypass, which is a technique that Fuji uses in some of their film simulations. And again, taking the center part of a vertical blur, then combining it with textures. I use this on, I think it's the Jefferson Building
That's
downtown, using a texture with the blurs. And I thought this was interesting. This is just that building only blurred. And I thought, wow, just the tonal range and the detail on that just looks amazing.
That's nice.
It's like a split tone.
And this was another wake up moment when I did this.
That's nice.
It's the 1001 building downtown.
Yeah, and just the vertical blurring just gives it the effect like it's a downpour, with the person with the umbrella and the reflections and the light coming through the building. When I finished this one, I thought, okay, keep going, you're on the right path. And once you get focused, it's a lot easier. And here's a series. This is pretty much the blur that I created from the original image. And by itself, it's kind of interesting. But then, the next one shows I take a mask and I start to mask through and get the details out here. The sky is still blurred. The buildings on the sides are blurred, but I'm starting to get more detail here. And then this is the final picture where I've taken the detail from that central building as far as I want to do. And I take the sky and I mask out a lot of the sky blur. And you can even see some of the birds up here by the top of the building. But I kind of like this thing. It's like growing out of this background blur.
That's the Book Tower, downtown Detroit.
Yeah.
that
And
complex.
they had that bright red scaffolding along the side of the building for a while, and I think really adds to the.
I think they've been working on it 3 years already, and they're going to put $1 billion in renovation.
Wow.
And then this is where I found out about turning this thing into night shots. I mean, these two. This was actually the first one that I did,
Yeah.
and I took this from the Z Park parking deck the night we went with the Oakland group, West Oakland Camera Club down there for their field trip. Was it 2 years ago? And I took this with just a little Fuji 16 megapixel camera off the top of the parking deck, and started experimenting with different blending modes. And when I hit this difference mode, blending mode, and it turned it into this night scene, I got really excited. I thought, well, this is really going in the right direction now. So I just kept pushing. The colors just become just unbelievable. I mean, the color combinations, you just don't see these colors naturally, you know, the reflections. And if you look at the roads, they look like they're all wet. And that's why I say the day shots actually can create more of a nighttime effect than the night shots do.
Now,
This was taken in at like 6 o'clock on a July afternoon.
so people are aware, if you go looking for this, these murals are now covered up because all of this corner of that building they've added in all the way 6 floors up.
Oh,
Is that the Hudson building?
That's the Hudson to the right.
Yeah.
The library is down low.
With the combination of the intensity
Yeah.
of the colors, you know, there's a difference between saturation and intensity. This is really intense with the colors.
Yeah, I love those. I like that. Go
That's
back to that other one.
love that.
Go back to the previous one. I thought that was great.
Those,
Yeah.
two,
Yeah, where was it? No, I don't know. It was
those 2 murals were
That one,
painted
yeah, I like
with spray
that
paint.
one and, oh, that's great. Yeah. I like that wide aspect ratio on that too.
Love it with the stair
That really looks great.
case there too.
And this was taken from, I think, the Z Park
Yeah,
roof, and it's a Pano 2 shots with a 50 megapixel medium format camera, and the colors on this just turned out so well. I mean, the combinations of the oranges and the blues, it just works really well.
do you notice the water tower on the right with the face on it? That
Mhm.
was done by one of the world famous street artists.
Really? I almost thought with the water tower was New York.
Mhm.
So I got a little gimmicky here. I started, well, if it looks like at night, maybe I should put some stars up in the sky. So I did a little bit of the stars, and
That's cool.
then I went back to the Chicago shot and tried that with a different style. If you remember the one where I just did the vertical blur, and then I masked through some of the detail. This is all the detail is in the pictures now, but I'm just going with a simple color combination. Sometimes it gets real intense, and this way I was able to tone it down.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Wow.
just startling.
That's great.
And I didn't do anything to create this. It just happened. I mean, I picked the blending mode, and all of a sudden the colors just went crazy. And I said, well, I'm not gonna fight it. I'm just gonna go with it. And
I think that difference blends a negative, right?
yeah,
But it does it a little bit differently, but I think it flips one of the layers to a negative and then blends it.
and sometimes you have to do some masking. Sometimes the picture gets so
Yeah.
blurred out and messy that you have to go through and bring the original back through it and do some blending. But I like the combination.
Yeah, I do
Is
too.
that the end? Is that the last one? Let me see.
Is it really?
That's the actual last one. So
Yeah, they really grab the eye, Gary. Those
Those are amazing.
good shots, boy. The color and
Very, very striking.
the crisp color. Oh gosh, it just
so it's been quite a journey for the last couple of weeks trying to get all this stuff to make some sense. But you know, I want to encourage everyone just to keep after it, because it's amazing how quickly you'll grow and learn the techniques and be able to do this. So I'm gonna turn this back to Bob, and then you can show what you want to do.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just a little thing, but okay. Let's see, forgot how to do this. Go here. All right,
So Doug's gone already. Must have heard the ice cream truck out in front or something.
let's go over to this one here. Okay, isn't that up there? Yeah. Okay, here's I put this adjustment layer up at the top there. It's a photo filter adjustment layer. Now I just turned it on, okay, and now the layer beneath it. See, I turned that layer off, and I turned that layer off. That's pushing that adjustment
Wow.
all the way through to the layers beneath. You know, if I kept shutting them off, you'd still have that look. That's shutting that layer off, turning that on. All right. If you don't want it to go to the succeeding layers down below, you just hit your Alt button or your Option and drag down, and you'll see, oops, wait a minute, screwed it up. I think, yeah, see that right there?
Arrow.
See that little thing popping up? You get real close to the dividing line. Let's see if we can.
Are you pushing Alt
Uh,
or no?
yeah, okay, here's what I want. How did I get this here? Let's get back here. All right, I'm Option or Alt. And see that little square pops up on that layer?
Yeah.
All right, what that's going to do is that's going to make this adjustment. I'm sorry, I got the wrong layer. Let me just go back here.
It's good to see that.
Yeah, okay, here we go. All right, see right now, okay, it's going to clip that adjustment layer to that layer below it, okay?
What'd you do? You clicked on that little arrow?
Yeah, yeah. So that, all right, so if I turn that off, you don't see the effect, okay? And let's see, if I undo it and I turn that off, excuse me, if I see that, I'm turning those layers off. That adjustment layer is affecting everything below it.
Right.
All right. So if I come up here and I do that, that adjustment layer will only affect this layer here. Now watch it prove me wrong here. See? It's only affecting that layer there. So I heard you, Ann, you were saying that you did an adjustment layer and it affected all the layers below it.
I think that was
Yeah,
Linda. Yeah.
That was me,
Well,
yeah.
the way to keep it from doing that is to do this clipping like that.
Okay.
You just hold Alt and you get that little thing, that little crooked arrow there, and that means that this adjustment layer is only going to affect the layer beneath it. It won't
Now,
affect
let's say you wanted to do the third one down. Can you move that down and then clip it?
I
Move
don't know.
adjustment-
To
Oh,
tell you the truth,
okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I just, the only thing I've done so far is just the immediate layer below.
Tom, you might show them where the photo filter is, because that's one they may not have
Oh,
known.
it's way down here. All right.
The adjustment tool?
Yeah,
With the photo filter.
right there. That's photo filter. So you can, well, here. That just put that
So down at the bottom, the half.
Yeah, it's right down here. Let me bring this
And then
down.
there's a little sub menu that comes up under it.
Yeah, see right there. And you come on up here.
Photo filter.
Where is photo filters?
There,
Right.
you just had it.
There it is, right there. Sure. So you can go to folder filter, or you could go up here to levels or curves. You know, it'll pop a curve up there, and you can, you know,
Hmm, wow.
curves. You know. But that curves, if I clipped it to the layer below it, that's the only thing that's going to affect.
That's called a clipping mask, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
The thing with that photo filter is it has options for different colors that are equal to old glass or plastic photo filters.
oh yeah, I use that a lot. But see, now I'm gonna unclip that right now. And when it's unclipped,
It's affecting all of them.
yeah. So if I shut that off,
You
see
still
each
get
one
it.
each one
Yep.
that I turn off or turn on, it's affecting.
Right.
But if I come back here and clip it, okay, it's only gonna affect the layer below it.
Turn it off. And
See, so I shut that layer off, and it
Mhm.
doesn't, that adjustment layer doesn't have any effect on there.
Okay.
So that's the way to do that. That's called clipping.
And that works for any one of those things on the adjustment brush.
Oh yeah, sure.
Contrast, I don't even know what's on it, but
Yeah.
whatever.
So yeah, so I can throw him down there. Delete that. Get him. Come on. Down here like that. Sure. If you wanted to. Oh, here's one I like. Color lookup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you go there, and you can get some really neat stuff.
Oh my
You
God.
can make it look like, well, Gary was talking about bleach bypass. That's the bleach bypass look.
And a color
Or you-
lookup table or LUT
Yeah,
is used in the video world initially, but now it's being used widely in the
and here's
photo world.
candlelight. That's kind of a nice one.
Oh,
The key is it's got to have a dot cube
My favorite is foggy night.
or 3DL.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's nice.
yeah.
And there's
And
all
What do you
then,
mean by that,
available.
Bob?
Pardon?
What do you mean it needs to have a dot cube or whatever?
The type of file that is a legal LUT is either the .3DL or .cube. Those are two
The key-
different.
yeah, supposedly the cube works better with Photoshop. So
Yeah, because that's
Oh.
the more popular one. And
yeah,
if you go out and Google them, there's a bazillion of them on the internet that you can get.
Oh,
so then you can come up here and you can change the opacity of that.
hmm.
Whatever you want, or you can change the blend mode on it. Down
If you
here.
ever notice like a Hollywood movie will
Yeah.
have a particular look about it.
mm-hmm.
And
Right, like it has a blue filter or something.
it has a blue and teal or whatever. The director
Mhm.
sets that and they create LUTs so that all they have to do is add the LUT and it makes all of their footage look that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it creates mood.
Both ways.
Okay, that's all I wanted to show you is you don't have to have all those layers below that, showing that
Affected.
effect.
Right.
You can have it so that your adjustment layer is just going to work on the one below it.
And if I remember correctly, I think I did that with opacity. Like I turned them all off except one. So you can do varying opacities with each.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Okay.
Or-
I don't even remember what I did anymore.
See
You
these?
can use the lookup tables as an alternative or in addition to textures.
These three top layers here, you see those?
Mm-hmm.
You can also select those, and whatever you do up in here, it'll do it to all three of those. If you were going to change the blend mode or the opacity or whatever, you can, if you wanted to have the same thing done to all 3 layers. You could do it by selecting all 3.
Right.
And then make your changes.
Mhm.
So,
Can I
Oh,
ask another quick question?
Go ahead.
Well, it might not be that quick, but, and I don't remember how I did it, but it seemed hard. Maybe there's an easier way. So when you have 3 different layers, if you want to make one of the images smaller, I think I had to go into edit and free transform. Is that the way you do that?
well, yeah, I go Command T. I'm going to select,
Oh,
yeah, I'm going to select that top layer. Okay, so I'm going to go there,
And that's
And take-
transform.
Command T, and see this bounding box up in here like that?
yeah.
All right, when you get that, there's a little thing in the, oh, won't talk about that now, but right click on it, and then it pops this menu
Free
up.
transform. Okay.
Yeah, and so you
Yeah.
go free transform, scale. I mean, if you wanted to go perspective, here's an interesting one right there. You can do some crazy stuff with warp.
Oh my gosh.
And then I use these flip vertical and flip horizontal. That really works well for those multi-image ones. You know, if you want,
Right, if you want the ceiling on the floor. or-
yeah, if you wanted to do sort of like a reflective thing.
Yeah, I think Gary did that, right?
flip-
To get the,
Yeah, flip
make
vertical.
it look like it rained.
Yeah, flip vertical, cut it in half, so forth.
But there's just
Okay.
so many permutations of commands that you can do in Photoshop.
Watch this. This is cool. This warp. Look at that. Turn that son of a gun inside out.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that cool?
That is,
That's cool.
I
Yeah.
gotta learn how just to take a good picture.
That one of the steps you used for that one with the photo look to it?
Yeah, I used it in something here past month or two. I can't remember what it was, but I used that warp because we go back here. Oops, wrong one. Let's see. Where are we? Command T.
Is command control on a,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so you can go to warp and what I do is I just go around the menus taking a look at these things and see
Mhm.
what the heck they do.
And to undo it, you just hit Control Z.
Yep.
Yeah, or you come up here and just hit that little undo thing up there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I missed that. Where was that little undo?
Oh,
yeah, I don't think I have that.
you know, Command T. All right, it's right up here. See that? There's a check.
Yeah.
That's the same thing as hitting enter, or this would be like a back button.
Cancel.
I don't know.
Escape.
Escape, yeah.
Hmm.
One of those two right there like that. So, okay, well, that's all I wanted to show you. It's just a few of those
Yeah, thank you. That it helps
little
to
things there.
a little bit.
Yeah.
You're like a Photoshop encyclopedia.
Oh, yeah. He knows all the keyboard
Well.
shortcuts.
I just know what I use a lot. You know, there's a whole ton of stuff there that I don't use, but I'm exploring around. But I found this this really nifty way of doing some blurs, so I'm kind of
It's
using.
a whole skill set aside from the photography part.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have shot a
You could
picture.
almost,
See, let's see.
And you know, people give Photoshop use a bad name, but you got to remember back in the film days, you outsourced the developing of your film and the printing of your film, and they did stuff to it in both processes.
right. Well, I went to a lecture by Monty, I forget.
Megler?
Megler.
And, you know, he was saying he doesn't do any of his Photoshop. He has people that's their skill set and they do it for him based on he tells them what he wants and then they do it.
He's not a technical guy.
No, well, you know, he's older. He's probably, you know, and
Yeah,
I think that's interesting.
I met him when I was in high school working at a camera shop in Farmington,
Uh-huh.
1972. He's amazing and he is a pretty good artist. It's far as that goes, but
Actually, outsourcing your editing is not uncommon because most photographers hate it. Some want to do it as their own, so they own their creativity. But I've been in shops where they'll outsource it to South America at some really cheap rate. They just we transfer or something like that down there, and a couple days later, your images are back done.
I can see that. If you like to be out in the field taking the pictures, you might not want to be sitting inside for hours
Right.
doing some of that.
I know a lot of people are missing from the group tonight, but what do we want to do going forward? Do we want to continue developing this kind of a style and techniques, or do you want to move on to something else?
I think this technique needs a lot more work before we're ready to move on.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
All right. And then if that's the case, let me suggest something. I'm going to take the screen back. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to go through a 2-minute demonstration on how to do this right here. And I think by doing that, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of tools that you can use in a lot of directions that you can go with. So let me open, hopefully I'm going to open this. Here we go. Okay, here's the original. And I'm going to do a quick geometry check on this. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it like that and open. Flatten the image. I'm going to crop it. Okay, and we're going to keep this real simple. What I'm going to do is go down to the layers panel here, and I'm going to duplicate the layer once, and then do it again, just so we've got extra layers to work with. Okay, then I'm going to go up to filters, blur, motion blur, and I'm going to set it for 90 degrees, and I'm going to take the slider all the way to the right. Okay, hit OK. And then I'm going to go back up to filter where it says motion blur. And instead of going through that again, I'm just going to hit this and it's going to do it again. Give it more intensity. Now I'm going to go into camera raw because I wanted to make this blur a little more intensive than it is. So I'm going to go back to camera raw filter. And I'm going to turn up the dehaze. See how it's getting much more intense? And you can play around with this too. You're going to learn what's going to work, what's not. I'm going to turn the blacks down a little bit, take the highlights up a little bit. Okay, so that looks interesting even by itself. I'm going to hit OK. Now I've got the blending or the motion blur on the top layer. Turn that off, and right below it is this. Now I'm going to go into, at this point, there's a couple of things you could do. If you wanted to play around with a mask, you could put a mask there, get a black brush, and start painting through the picture. Okay, that's one tool I'm going to give you right here to use. Start playing with stuff like this. Okay, the other is you can go to opacity and just start playing around with different opacity levels. But the one that's really going to work for you is to go into the blending modes and start playing around with some of these different options. And to get the one we want, we're going to go all the way down to difference.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
And that's still just doing the first layer.
That's all I've done. They're real simple. Put the vertical blur, the motion blur on the first layer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even need the mask for this. And then
Right.
below it is the background layer. Now, because this is a blending mode, you're going to have to blend these two together to make it one picture. So I'm going to hold down the command key, click. So I highlighted both of those, right click on it, and just say merge the layers. So those two layers now become one picture. Okay, I took the the motion blur and the regular one, blended together. Now it's a picture.
Okay.
And now I'm going to go back into Camera Raw.
So if we have Lightroom, we'd be saving this in.
Well, in
Going
Lightroom,
back
I don't know. I don't use Lightroom, but I don't know how good it does with layers. So you're gonna have to.
Okay. Yeah.
No, you gotta go into Photoshop for the layers.
So already you can tell where we're going with this picture. Look at it, and it's obviously too dark. So we're gonna take the exposure and start turning this up. Look what happens.
Wow.
Okay.
Gary, where did you get, click on to go into Camera Raw? Because I have a little box over those top things on the
You go
top.
back up to filter.
Oh, up to filter. Okay, there's a box
there.
blocking it.
And there,
Okay.
okay, there's Camera Raw.
Okay.
And at this point, play all you want. You know, you can take the exposure up, turn it up. You can start going into the colors, and here's the hue. And you go into, let's pick orange and start. Have fun. You can make this thing look like anything you want. I mean, the colors in here are so intense now. I mean, the black and white looks pretty good, but I'm looking at this now. Look at the reflections that you're getting on the
Yeah.
street.
And that's just from the difference
Wow.
filter.
Yeah.
Wow.
So think about what you can do with your pictures with these just like 3 simple tools that I just showed you. Make the the motion blur on one layer, go through the blending modes, go through the opacity modes, and just start playing with it and seeing what you can do. I mean, for a 1 minute, I like to tell people I worked hours and hours and hours to get this, but in fact, you just saw it. It just took 2-3 minutes to get to this point. And if you decide you wanted to turn this into a black and white, there's your night shot.
Will this work very well with a JPEG image?
Sure. I would, I strongly recommend using RAW because you've got so much latitude. I mean,
Right.
this
I just don't have-
process is really beating the heck out of the pixels. I mean, this is a medium format 51 megapixel image. And so, and it's holding up pretty good.
Mhm.
I mean, the pictures that I showed you downtown with, from the top of the Z Park that I took of the building there, that was taken with a 16 megapixel Fuji. So, I mean, you can do good stuff with a smaller megapixel camera.
Okay.
Try to use RAW if you can.
Yeah.
But I mean, once you get it to this point, go into the color mixer, start looking at the hue slider and go down individually, each one of the colors, see if you want to change them, then go to the luminance. If you want to take the blues and darken them, if you want to take the oranges and turn those dark. I mean, look what you can do.
Wow.
So in your mind right now, you should be thinking about all the creative possibilities you have with your pictures, just with these real simple tools.
And to think what you started with a few clicks away.
Yeah. I mean, this was a picture that I was going to throw away. I mean, I was amazed that I even kept the picture. It was so bad. And you can do this with it.
It's like the opposite extreme of that high contrast minimalist photography we just did.
Yep.
So, I mean, this should give, this should give you some really good conceptual ideas to play with, and if it doesn't work, move on to another picture, try it out. I mean, look at some of the stuff that's happening back here in the background on some of these other buildings. It's a very painterly combination with colors and intensities, and there's no rules here. Make up your own rules. If you want to find a little person with an umbrella, stick them in here, and create the shadow and the reflections. And if you
I
have
have no idea how to do that.
and if you have any questions about doing this, send an email to Bob or I or Tom. We'll be glad to help you.
Hey,
You bet.
Gary, could you just pop over to Photoshop just for a second there? Going up to filter there. And you can see, now, see all the shortcuts there on the right-hand side of the drop down? Like Camera Raw filter, that's That's Shift Command A. I'm telling you, if you get into this kind of stuff, you should learn these shortcuts. They make things so fast. You know, you don't have to be searching around and I
Even if you
have a
just
hard
learn
time
3 or
just
4 of
zeroing
them.
in on some of those darn items in the menus, you know.
I know Control Z pretty well.
Yep.
Yeah, but like
Command J is another one.
Command J, Command E.
What's
that will,
Command J?
merge down.
New layer.
Yeah.
New, does it just duplicate or what, like what?
Gives you a new layer.
But those,
I
But-
used it when I took out like a person, just wanted a person, and then I do Command J and it makes it a layer.
Command J puts it up on top. Yeah.
One last thought here. You've got this image here. You still have another background layer with the original. So if you have to get more detail out or something's wrong, you can always create a mask here and then brush it in from here. But you know, the chances are the colors are not going to match. But if you need the additional detail, it's still there.
Okay.
Another thought is that I spent a lot of time on the internet looking at pictures. I don't recall anybody doing this, that what you're seeing right now. I don't see anybody using this style, this technique. So this is right now, it's kind of a, I don't know.
Avant-garde.
I don't know anybody else using it. So
I've never seen anything like it. It's great.
One of the things I noticed is you're doing a day to night shot. What I did on mine, not knowing any better, but I selected the sky and then darkened the hell out of it before I went through these processes.
probably don't need to do that.
I have a very simple question because I don't know how. When I'm in a brush, I can't get out of a brush. How do you get out of, like if I'm in the loop or a brush or something, I can't seem to get out of it.
Well, I mean, like a selection of a brush like I have right now.
Yeah, and if I want to get out of that, how do you get out of it?
Just hit another tool, like the magnifying glass.
Okay, what if you don't want to be in any tool?
Then
Good
go hit
again.
the
I think you have to be in, there has to be a tool, I think. That,
Okay, there's got to be one up, okay.
But I use the top one, and that's kind of a neutral.
The top one.
See
The
the
selection.
That's your
move, there's a move tool. I usually keep the magnifying on just so I can, you know, look at,
either way.
go through.
Oh, okay, okay.
Look at all the wonderful colors and details. And I mean, it's just so much fun to play with. And then when you, again, you can go back anytime at Camera Raw and you know,
Change it back.
get crazy with it, you know, change colors. There's no rules here. Nobody else is doing this. And, you know, I mean, if you take this to club, who knows, you know.
Wouldn't you, if you did,
We're gonna
wouldn't
find
you-
out tomorrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't you think it should be in creative then, if you brought it to
Oh,
club?
yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you're not adding anything unnatural or, you know, not part of the picture. I mean, all you're doing is manipulating the image in terms of colors and contrast,
No, 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 no.
tones.
Not here.
You could probably argue in club over the rules, but the rule is creative has to look like altered reality, which I think is a terrible term. and
Yeah.
ambiguous, But you'll never get them to change it.
So what I did here is just took the black slider.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or you could have done the shadows even.
What I like about this is, like you said, I mean, you were gonna thinking about even throwing away the picture, but this makes it fabulous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can create a piece of art from a picture that you really didn't like as a photograph, as an initial photograph.
Just don't tell anybody that after you finish.
Right,
Don't show them the original,
exactly.
you know, but, you know, here's contrast and you can see all the different variations. I mean, you can tinker as long as you want. You know, take a look at, you know, I shouldn't tell you don't overdo it. I mean, we're already overdoing it with this thing, but it really looks good. I like the style, and I think you can have a lot of fun with it. And I mean, if you can take an awful picture like this and create something like this, think of what you can do with a good picture.
Be interesting to see how it works with like an animal portrait. Really interesting.
I can only guarantee that it works on, architectural stuff, but if you want to try it on animals,
All
go
kinds
ahead.
of stuff.
Yeah, you can try it on other things. Who knows what,
Right.
stones and things like that.
Right, a flower,
Sure, sure.
You kidding?
Yeah,
a bug.
but I'm having a lot of fun with this, and as you can probably tell.
Kevin, do it on the frogs.
Yeah.
We
What's
shoot
that?
frogs at my house today.
I'm going to save this one. I'm starting to like this stuff.
Okay.
So you want to give this a try, everyone? See what you can come
Sounds
up with?
good.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
So Bob, how do we get the recording?
I'll send it to the people who want it.
Yes, please.
Okay. I would.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mike, does this sound like something you can tackle now? Yeah.
I'll do my best.
Okay. If you have questions, send me an email.
You can expect it.
Okay. All right. This should be fun.
Thank you.
Anybody
you.
else want the video? I got Mike, Linda, and Ann.
I would, please.
Who's that?
Ron Wangro.
Oh, okay. Okay. I will have them within the hour.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
this is great.
Yes, thank you.
Make sure and spread the word at the club. They don't know.
I'm not going to erase this. I'm going to save this.
Yeah, I like it.
Framer,
Hey,
there
we should
it
keep it
is, another
secret
one.
from everybody else in the club.
I just want to put it out there right now. The reason that you guys never see me at club is doing this street photography thing. It's about all I can handle right now with working so much.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do what you can do. It's supposed to be a fun hobby, and
See, we have a slight advantage being retired.
That's right. It's so nice.
I'm trying to get my husband to
To
join.
retire?
No, well, that too, but
Oh,
want him to join the club.
oh, yeah, he should. He's good.
Well, he can do one image. He doesn't, I said, you can do as little as you want or as much.
That's right.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.